Whether you're playing redraft or dynasty fantasy football, you want to evaluate the great crop of NFL rookies in this 2021 season. We'll discuss our top 10 coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Jack Grant, and we're the fantasy football consultants.
Jack, we have been busy here at the FFC this preseason. We have done all 8 of the NFL divisions, predicted finishes, as well as any of the fantasy football implications in that division. You can check out those shows in the description. Also in the description is our fantasy football mock drafts. We did both a 10-team and a 12-team draft.
Yep, and don't forget about the Master Series classes that we put together, Eric. We have 3 of those where we talk about getting your dynasty league set up, and then how that works with, filling out your team for the year, as well as how trades and waiver wires work. So make sure you click on those links in the description.
Yeah, and if you want to help support the show and not miss any of our future content, smash that red subscriber button, followed by the bell icon. All right, Jack, let's get into it. It doesn't matter whether you play dynasty or you really do redraft leagues. You better understand and evaluate the talent that is coming in this 2021 season for the NFL rookies. This is a pretty good class, isn't it?
Very, very good class. I feel like we're like Mel Kiper at the draft. He's always talking them up, but hopefully we have a little bit more insight into how they're going to impact, your fantasy teams moving forward, especially as it relates to dynasty.
Yeah, we have a top 10 list. And as we said in our Dynasty Master Class, one of the big considerations you have is what your team needs are, right? Do you need that running back? Do you need that quarterback or wide receiver or even tight end for one particular person? And that will probably dictate it. But assuming that there is no specific needs, we listed the top 10 that we thought. And let's get into it. A little drum roll, please. It's a 4-person race. There's a clear top 4. We're going with Najee Harris, running back from Pittsburgh. Man, this guy is a beast. And what you love about his landing spot in Pittsburgh is head coach Mike Tomlin always runs with one running back. So I expect him to be the featured back from day one. You usually can just plug and play with the Steeler back. And this guy has great cutting ability. He's a really big guy, so he should be tough around the goal line. And Jack, I love his hands. This guy is going to get receptions in the NFL.
Yeah, kind of like Le'Veon Bell a little bit. He had going up to almost 600 touches a few years back before he held out and that whole mess kind of unraveled. But, Pittsburgh's really kind to their running backs, and I think it's a great fit for him. So I completely agree.
But his one big issue is this Pittsburgh offensive line. It's not good. And when will it get better? So if you're in redraft, you just have to be a little cautious. And then you hope that it gets better over time for dynasty. All right. So Najee Harris gets the #1 spot. Congratulations, Najee. Who is number 2?
We're going to go with Jamar Chase here. I think he had a great college career with, Jefferson, as we saw, came out and was a very productive rookie last year with Minnesota. But I really like the fit with him and Burrow coming back. I think they have a really talented wide receiver corps with T. Higgins and a few other really talented folks there. I'm just a little bit worried about there being a lot of mouths to feed. I think he's a talented young, guy, and it might take a little bit of while to, build up some trust with Joe Burrow. So we'll see how this works out, but I like him number 2 in the long run, especially for dynasty. You got to be thinking about, what it's like for him maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road even. And I think he's a remarkable talent from a big school. So.
But he has that relationship already existing with Joe Burrow. So you would think, last time that we saw Jamar Chase, he was catching passes from Burrow 1780. 1,780 yards in 22 Ds. That's an obscene season. You know,
Joe Burrow broke the record that year, right? And they
yeah,
they won the national championship.
he's a fast guy. 4.4 speed, and he can turn short passes and bam, and break it off for a quick play. In 2019, he had 431 yards after contact, and that's better than any receiver in the last 4 years out of college. So obviously he opted out last year in 2020. So do you wonder whether there was a little bit of rust there if you're drafting him as a redraft league? Let's talk about his competition, right? T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So for Dynasty, I love this guy at the number 2 pick, as he will be a number 1 wide receiver in the very, I think, near future. But I understand what you're saying. This upcoming year may not have the impact of a Najee Harris.
The good news is they'll be passing the ball a lot. We'll see how the line holds up, but I have a feeling they're going to be down a little bit, you know, in most games, especially against a talented AFC North, right? So
there's no easy games on that. And the Bengals defense is still not good. All right. Number 3, Kyle Pitts. He has a clear argument for number 1. This guy has 2 big weapons. He's got his size, 6 foot 6 inches, and he has speed, 4.5 for tight end speed. That is obscene. He'll probably line up as a receiver at times, and he simply becomes a matchup nightmare for a defense. Can you get someone who's big enough to guard him? Can you get a guy who's fast enough to guard him? You know, so in Atlanta, Matt Ryan is still there. They don't, you know, Julio Jones is gone. There's opportunity is available for Pitts to really shine starting in year 1. He was selected 4th overall in the NFL draft. That's the highest a tight end has been selected ever.
Yeah, they're saying really good things about this guy. I think that he's gonna do very well there. And who was it? Hayden Hurst last year. He didn't really perform up to expectations, so you could see that management and Arthur Blank really went after a generational talent. It sounds like it's like Gronkowski but faster. It's pretty lethal combo.
We said that as a club of 4, Jack. Who is the last guy who very well may write us and say, what the hell? How can you put me 4? I should be number 1. And he has a claim to that number 1 spot. Who is it?
It's DEVONTA Smith. I think what sets him back a little bit is the team that he's on, right? And just their outlook, the productivity looking forward. We projected them, go check out the NFC East video that we have out, but we projected them last based on their odds. And I really think that he's a great talent. It's kind of like the Henry Ruggs versus Judy last year. That's like kind of how Smith and Waddle are this year, come out of a big school. They're both very talented receivers. But I just think that I don't know if the line's going to be able to hold up to buy Jalen Hurts enough time.
But man, what didn't DeVonta Smith do last year? He got 1,856 receiving yards.
Yeah,
Jack, do you know the second most receiving yards last year? Remember, Jamar Chase opted out, but the second most receiving yards in 2020 was a little under 1,200. He was 660 receiving yards over the next college player. That's just that's crazy, and it helped him earn the Heisman Trophy, the first wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy in the last 30 years.
He's very sought after receiver, you know, by the likes of, you know, the media, the polls, the coaches, and so on. And there's a lot to be said about his work ethic too. So I think the sky's the limit with this guy. He's another generational talent, as are a lot of these top guys. So we'll see. I think he'll have a decent year and put up some good numbers. I'm just a little bit weary about his long-term situation in Philadelphia. So we'll kind of see how that pans out.
fair point. The pie is definitely smaller in Philadelphia, but the good news is he doesn't have a whole lot of competition. So I think this year, I expect him to be the #1 wide receiver on Philadelphia. And I don't think there's a doubt. At least Jamar Chase is going to be pushed for that by Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. All right. So so those are those top four. They're the class. So there's a bit of a drop off, but definitely worth attention is running back JAVONTE Williams. Last year, he actually split time with another NFL rookie this year, Michael Carter, but he still had 1,400 plus yards and 22 TDs, averaging an absurd 7.3 yards per carry, and he gets involved in the passing game. He had 25 receptions. Unfortunately, unlike Najee Harris, he's not going to have the backfield all to his own in Denver, and his offense probably won't be as prolific as Najee Harris's offense will be, but because Melvin Gordon is there. But he's definitely going to have an important role, and he's worth taking a look at him. What do you think about Williams?
And they took this guy pretty early, right? I think it was early second round, I want to say, like maybe 35th overall. And I mean, he was a stud at North Carolina. I think, what was he, second in the NCAA and in yards after the catch. So I think he's going to be a great third down back. I think he's kind of got that small, like Mike Tolbert kind of goal line presence potentially. It was 5'10", 212 pounds or something like that. So we'll see. I kind of like him, but his upside's a little limited with a healthy Melvin Gordon.
All right, so we're doing a top 10 list. We've done the first 5. Jack, let's reveal who would have been, if something didn't happen a couple days ago, who would have been our number 6 at the rookie spot.
It's our Travis, our man there in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Travis Etienne. Oh, tell him about what unfortunate event that happened.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce the medical fracture term, but he has a foot injury, and clearly that's important for running backs. So I think that's going to have an impact on his value for a dynasty league. Even I know for a redraft league, it's why would you even touch the guy? But for a dynasty league, I do think he could still have some value in the future. It's just one of those things where I was, talking with Eric earlier. It's like Greg Oden, the guy gets injured off the bat, right after being, very sought after.
Greg Olsen, the tight end.
No, I was talking about Greg Oden, the NBA player.
Yeah. Okay, you changed sports on me.
Oh, yeah. We mix it up around here. So yeah, I do think that it's risky. I really liked him going into this. What did you think about him before this injury, Eric?
He's a first-round pick, right? Jacksonville truly valued him. And granted, he was going into a very crowded backfield situation in Jacksonville. He was going to share the backfield with James Robinson, who was the bell cow last year. Plus, they brought in veteran Carlos Hyde. But here's the thing: ETN, before this injury, is probably the fastest and best receiver of those two. So he caught 48 passes last year at Clemson. So I thought he was going to have a really nice role in the passing game with Jacksonville, really helping Trevor Lawrence, kind of being his safety valve. So this hurts Lawrence. Obviously, this hurts Etienne. All right, so our new number 6, without Travis Etienne there, don't have to go far. Yeah, who is it?
Great segue. We went with Trevor Lawrence on this one, which is our first quarterback off the board. I think we can all agree that he's a generational talent, very similar to what we were just discussing with DeVonta Smith. Very sought after, very coachable. There's been a lot of buzz around Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he hasn't looked particularly great in preseason compared to the expectations that have been set so far. But I think as someone who's going to be a sure bet first starter, actually today, I think Urban Meyer was interviewed and confirmed that Minshew has no shot in starting. You know, he's going to get his reps in. And again, I think they still have some things to figure out. And I think they're going to be potentially passing the ball 55, 60 times a game, playing from behind. So I do think, you know, between his ability to run the football and use his legs and scramble because the line isn't the best, coupled with his just arm talent and ability to find some guys, like was Marvin Jones Jr. I think they picked up from Detroit.
Yes.
Was it Jones? Yeah, last year. I like him. So we'll see. I think they have DJ Chark coming back too. Is that correct?
Yes. So those will be his two main weapons. At number 7 is Jaylen Waddle, wide receiver. He's now in Miami. Jack, I predict he's going to be one of the fastest wide receivers in the entire NFL as a rookie. He does a great job of turning receptions, maybe even short passes, into long touchdowns. He averaged 21 yards per catch. Man, Miami is just has a trio of deep threats. They've got, in addition to Waddle, they've got Fuller and they've got DeVonta Parker. I think the biggest challenge is, will Tua be able to get the ball to any of these guys deep? That's my biggest concern. If he had a great strong arm quarterback, he'd be higher on this list for me. What's your take on Waddle?
Yeah, I think it depends on how the offense goes. I personally, I think a guy like Bill Belichick has just made the Dolphins look so bad for so long that I just kind of have this thought of like, oh, the Dolphins will mess it up somehow. I just think there's some dysfunction in the organization to begin with, but
so harsh for a team that got like 10 wins last year.
No, yeah, they're a decent team last year. I think their defense kind of carried them through. I agree with you on the Tua point. But it's gonna depend on how this guy Gaskin kind of opens up the passing game, whether he can be effective, and how their line protects Tua.
Let's go to number 8.
Rondale Moore, the wide receiver in Arizona. I do like him. I think very similar to like a Jamar Chase. I don't think he's as talented as Jamar Chase, but I think he's in a very similar situation where he's got now a very young quarterback in Kyler Murray, but there's a lot of mouths to feed. You got Kirk in the slot, right? They just brought over AJ Green from Cincinnati. And he's also going to be fighting behind. I think there's one more guy.
DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins. How could I forget him?
He's like, excuse me.
But you know what? I think I saw he was questionable, so I just kind of wrote him off. But you can't write that man off. He's been one of the top receivers in the league the last couple of years and just does some spectacular things. But back to Rondale Moore, I do think he has the talent. This is another one. It's going to be based on the fit and whether he can gain, Kyler Murray's trust. But what do you think, Eric? Do you like the guy?
In redraft leagues, this is a big drop for me because I think all of the 7 that were ahead will have a big impact this year in fantasy. And there's a concern that Rondale Moore will not this year. But I think in Dynasty, long-term, I think this guy is a true talent. I feel like I keep saying this, but speed kills. And he has blazing speed. He's 4.3 in the 40.
I'm a little worried about his height though, Eric, at 5'7" as a receiver.
Yeah, he stands on his tippy toes. He wants you to know he's 5'8", but we can all argue on that. But he's strong. He can muscle, but you're right. He definitely does not have the height. But if he does perform well and he gets a starting spot, again, it might not happen this year, but down the road, can you ask for a better quarterback in Kyler Murray to throw to you? So it looks crowded now, but this could be a dream situation in a couple of years.
Yeah, potentially. I'd like to have Pat Mahomes thrown to me, but yeah, if I didn't.
Oh, well, apparently if you're going to have your perfect scenarios, but on behalf of Kyler Murray, screw you.
I hope Kyler's not watching. On that note, let's move on to number 9. Who do you have there, Eric?
Speaking of talented young QBs, it's time to recognize a quarterback on this list. Again, only because he has to compete to whether he even gets a job this year. Trey Lance. San Francisco loves this guy so much they traded the house to trade up to get him at number 2 overall. But Jimmy Garoppolo stands in his way for a potential starting position. Just saw last night on TV. They said, the head coach said, I'm not making a decision. And they said, well, when will you tell us? They go, whenever I feel like it. So maybe not until the day before the first game. I've seen this guy, and I think he's a good quarterback, meaning he has accurate throws, but what everybody knows from him is his legs. I mean, the guy ran for 1,100 yards last year and 14 TDs. So dual threat back there, which is kind of the secret for success, it seems like, when we're thinking about Josh Allen, even your Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson.
Moving on to number 10 here, we have Justin Fields, quarterback in Chicago. Very similar feel, had a very good preseason. We really like him for the long term. I just think this year might be tough, especially trying to win that position versus very seasoned Andy Dalton and of course Nick Foles. They decided to keep him there, so there's just a lot of competition. They've been getting a lot of good looks on Justin Fields, and I really like him, especially playing out of a big conference at Ohio State, and understanding a little bit more of what it takes to be at the next level in the NFL. I think he's a good stash. I don't know if it's going to pan out this year, but he's going to be worth it in the future. I think he's got the talent. So Eric, any comments on Justin Fields?
No, it just again, he has that dual threat, just like Trey Lance. That's our top 10. Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, Devonta Smith, Javonte Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Waddle, Rondale Moore, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. So those are our 2021 rookies. Jack, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this video 2 or 3 years from now, and we'll say, what? Why did we have that guy that high? Or why did we disrespect that guy, putting him so low?
Yeah, hopefully we didn't strike out too bad.
Yeah, so we'll see. Until we see you next time, take care, and please take a look at one of these videos that are on the screen. You'll be entertained.
Thanks for having us, guys. Take care. Have a good one.